Hi everyone, so how's the application with the healthcare assistant in UK going? Hope you all are doing well. I hope you watched my previous video on how to apply your requirement and eligibility, as well as free courses you can do to boost your CV. Well, today I'm going to be sharing with you likely interview questions, because if you submitted your CV, hopefully you'll be called for interview, or if you're not already in the interview stage. Well, I was supposed to have a friend come on board today, but for one or two reasons he can't be here. So he shared with me 10 questions that you are likely to be asked. So keep watching so I can get a question and tailor your answers accordingly. Hello again, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amaka, but you can always call me Miss Maki. On this channel, we share information that are useful. So if your first time of seeing my channel, please do also subscribe so you can get a notification anytime I drop a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, you already know I love you. So like I said, he shared with me 10 questions, but then they are not sacrosanct, because there can be more questions, but then I'm sure like you can get one or two from 10 questions listed. So I'm going to list out the 10 questions on the screen so that you can see them. First question, there are no particular order, is tell us about yourself. And secondly is why do you want to be a healthcare assistant? That's 2. 3 is what are the 6 C's? 4 is what is confidentiality? 5 is how will you deal with an aggressive or abusive patient? Next is what if someone asks you to operate against the manual handling policy? What attributes makes a great healthcare assistant? Tell us about a positive and negative experience you have had with a patient. Can you work antisocial hours? And last on my list is what is your biggest weakness? So I'll start with question 1. Tell us about yourself. Now, when they ask you this question, they're not expecting you to say, my name is Amaka, I'm from Anambra State, I'm 40 years of age, so I went to school in Ukraine. No. Now we're expecting you to answer 3 things: your experience, your quality, and your interest in the role. When we talk about experience is experience tailored to the job. Your experience with healthcare setting. Have you worked in the healthcare facilities? What did you do there? What did you face? And all of that. Next is your qualities. Now, what are your qualities? Your personal qualities. You're caring, you're empathetic, you're patient, you like to communicate, all of that, as it relates to the job. Then lastly is interest in the role. Now, that's for you. You can say like you like to improve on people's life. You like to care for people. When people are down, you always want to be there to be sure that they're able to stand on their feet and do what's expected of them. So experience, quality, and interest in the role. That is how you answer. Tell us about yourself. Before I go on, I want you to know something, that this interview is tailored to know if you care enough to do the job, if you're a trusted person, and then your personality. So these 3 things are really what they are looking out for when you're doing your interview. Like, do you care enough to take up this job? Do they trust you enough to be able to be confident when handling a patient's documents? And then what are your personalities? So these 3 things are very important. Now this takes us to question 2. Now question 2 is, why do you want to become a healthcare assistant? Well, to approach this question, you can look at it from 2 angles. The first one is why? Why? Because you have a caring personnel. That's who you are. You like to care for people who are in need. You always want to be them. Like, it's just who you are. Then the question is, why healthcare assistant? Now, healthcare assistant is probably because you love the whole healthcare setting, just like the why, because you're caring personnel, and because you're going to be working with different medical personnel like nurses, doctors, orthopedics, and the rest of them. So maybe like you call it like a multidisciplinary team. So that's the reason why you want to work in a healthcare setting, and probably what you can bring. You're a hard worker, you're someone who listens, you don't go beyond your limits, and all of that. So you can look at it from that angle and then answer your question. So next question is, what are the 6 C's? The 6 C's are care, compassion, competency, courage, communication, and commitment. And you can be asked further as to which of them is more important. Well, they are all important. How committed are you to the job? Are you courageous enough to be able to do this? Do you care enough? Do you have compassion for human? You understand? So all of that is very important. But then which one sticks out? I think is the competency, because if you watch my previous video on the free certification courses, you see that in their courses there are different stages. So obviously one person cannot know everything, so you need to know the one where your strength is. You know, someone who works in a mental home is different from someone who works in a hospital, and I don't think you'll be able to do both. So it says competency because you know your limits and you don't want to go beyond your limits. So the next question is, what is confidentiality? Confidentiality is keeping secret of safe information given by or about another individual in the course of a professional relationship. Keyword, professional relationship. Now, when you're in a professional setting and you have details about somebody, you have no right whatsoever, except there's a clause that states the person ticks that you can actually release the information to its spouse or family members. But aside that, you have no right to release information about a patient to any other person. Now, this is called breach of confidentiality. I'm sorry to say, but maybe in your home country you do that, but then here in the United Kingdom, it is not allowed. So that is why certain times you see patients, when they fill their form, when it comes to confidentiality, their list, do you want your information to be released or not? They tick no. So once they tick no, you have no right to release a patient's information to another. Take for example, I'm in a care home and then my spouse calls and wants to ask about certain information about me. You have no right to tell my spouse about me because it is my own information. And don't forget that when you breach that confidentiality, the patient will not trust you enough to be able to give you vital information that might be detrimental to the person's health. So please, confidentiality is very important. Next is, how will you deal with an aggressive or abusive patient? Like he said, when you have an aggressive or abusive patient, you need to know when to approach such a patient. Now, the reason is you're trying to ensure that you are safe and every other person is safe, because if you approach the patient at a time when he's being very hostile, you can cause harm to yourself and to every other person around you. Another thing to note is that sometimes the situation can be beyond control. It's not something you can handle. At that point, you can decide either to call the security to help put down the patient, or you need to call the police in, or whichever one is ideal for the situation. Also, in trying to communicate with such a patient, your tone of your voice matters. You have to be really calm and reduce your voice so that the person understands, oh, what do you want? Oh, this is this, that is that. You know, you don't have to aggravate the situation. The whole essence is for you to be able to de-escalate whatever is happening at that point in time. So your tone, your manner of approach, and security of yourself and every other person around you is very key. Now, what if someone asks you to act against the manual handling policy? It's very simple. Sorry, you can't. Even if it's your boss, you can't, because it was stated explicitly that this is what the rules that lay down that you ought to follow. So why do you want to deviate and go against whatever it says? It's a no, it's a red flag, and I'm sure you'll be suspended, lose if there's a license or whatever. So you can't operate against it because you signed up for it and you pledged to, that's the word, because I'm not a healthcare assistant, you pledged to do this and that. So you can't, for whatever reason it is, work against the manual handling policy. That is very simple and straightforward. What are the attributes of a healthcare assistant? You know what they are. You're caring, professional, able to prioritize your patients. That's also empathetic. You're a hard worker. You're committed, you know, compassionate. So these are some of the attributes you can actually list for a healthcare assistant. Tell us a positive and negative experience you have had with a patient. For me, I will not tell you this is this. It's very simple. Now you can think and create an analogy. Oh, okay, this happened. You will know what to. Because if I tell you now that this is this, it's like true and poor. Like I'm just telling you to swallow it in and then go and see this. And then there are so many people watching this video. So obviously everybody can't give the same answer. If I should advise, think of something, a positive thing that could likely happen, or maybe where you were giving praises by the doctor or nurses in charge, and then a negative thing that happened that you felt like, oh, you would love to correct if such situation arises again. So I wouldn't be saying that this is this. So you might want to research on a positive or negative experience that might likely happen in a healthcare setting and how it has affected you, so that you know how to tailor your answer. Yes. The next question is, can you work antisocial hours? Antisocial hours, I think, are like festive period when you know everybody's supposed to be home, but then you're working. And I know for sure that antisocial hours, if you have to pick up a shift during antisocial hours, I think that the pay are quite higher, if not up to times 2. So can you work? So the decision is yours, but obviously you're looking for the job. You will say yes, you can work antisocial hours, but then when you get a job, you should know how to, balance it up and know if it's going to be favorable to you or not. So antisocial hours are those hours where other people are home enjoying with their family, or like public holidays when everybody ought to be home, but then you've picked up a shift to do that particular day. That's what it's called, antisocial hour. And then lastly is, what is your biggest weakness? When they ask you what is your biggest weakness, you cannot say my biggest weakness is when patients are hostile, I can't stand the situation. No, your weakness is not supposed to be something centered around the job. It should be something outside the job. You understand? Because if it's a weakness that's related to the job, trust me, it's already a red sign. And well, if I'm your interviewer, I feel like then the job is not for you. If you can't do this, obviously you know what it entails, and then you have this weakness. Sorry, we can't really work with you. So your weakness should be something outside of the healthcare setting. Like for me, like I can't stand blood. Then how do I want to be a healthcare worker? It's not possible, right? So like your weakness can be, what can be my weakness if? My weakness can be maybe, God, I don't even know. Well, you know what your weakness is, or you know whatever weakness you can give to them. But please, your weakness should not be centered around the job. It should be something outside the job. That is what your weakness should be. All right, everyone. So these are the 10 questions that my friend gave to me to share with you all today. I'm hoping that at least 50% of the questions here is what you're going to face when you're going for your own interview. And guess what? I wish you nothing but success. I pray that you're going to get this job, that to as many agencies you're submitting your CV, a few of them will definitely call you, and then this job is going to be yours. But please prepare yourself, and don't forget, wear confidence when you're going for an interview. Tell yourself you're going to do this. Now, because you're overseas, obviously it's going to be like a Zoom call. Look them, dress professionally. Please don't dress and be wearing colored hair or something. Dress in a professional way. Wear confidence. Answer the question like you ought to. Do not deviate. If after the interview you're asked, okay, do you have any questions for us? You can ask them questions too. Ask them questions that you feel you want to know about the job, who you're going to be working with, and all of that. Prove to them that you are ready to do this job if they call upon you today, and the sky is your starting point. So if you found these questions useful, or if you come across this question during your interview, please leave us a comment so that other people too can learn and equip themselves for their interview. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you're new and you haven't subscribed, please do well to subscribe, because I have more information coming your way. Thank you so much.